Hi, Tim. How are you?
Terrific. Thanks for having me at the Coin Nation Summit. Great
Yes,
to be here, and I'm sorry I'm not there in person, but I'm happy to be able to participate.
yes,
Got my
yes.
Bitcoin tie on.
Oh, I love it.
I'm ready to rock and roll.
The best speaker. Nobody has a tie like this. Nobody has this level of energy. We met, of course, at the Bitcoin conference. How was it for you?
I loved it. I loved it. I thought Miami was so smart to open up like that. So great to have all those people and having all of those free thinking, freedom driven people doing so much good for society. It warmed my heart. And I think it was an amazing number of people that came out. And I am even more optimistic. I was optimistic before, but I am even more optimistic about Bitcoin and its future, having been to that conference. That was a special event, and there are a lot of people dedicating their lives to making this a way of life.
Yes, yes, unbelievable. I met the industry, understood how big it is when I saw all these companies and people, and that was from all over the world. People flew to Miami, right?
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, it was a wonderful conference. I judged a competition there. I had a number of speaking engagements. I got to meet some really interesting people, and I think it opened my eyes to the freedom that's happening in Miami, by contrast to California.
Yeah, a lot of people from Miami are watching us. The companies, the mayor, his team, and everybody are involved.
Terrific. Oh, I had a meeting with the mayor too. Really, I'm very impressed with him. I donated to his cause.
Oh, wow. So your journey with Miami, I mean, how is it? Are you gonna help them, yeah, get stronger and stronger and bigger and bigger?
Yeah, I'm hoping to set up a Draper startup house in Miami. We have Draper startup houses all over the world. We have one in Austin, Texas, and then we have them in different countries around the world. I think there are about 15 of them out there.
Wow.
We have one here in the Silicon Valley that is Draper University, where the students take it over whenever we're in session. But when we're not in session, we're a Draper startup house where people can come and get their business going and have conferences and there's a lot of activity around every Draper startup house. So yeah, so
Wow.
we're thinking of putting one in Miami. I haven't yet put an associate or a junior partner in Miami, but I have longer term plans to do that. And I think that I think it's going to start having some of the feel of the Silicon Valley. It encourages entrepreneurship. It encourages freedom. It doesn't overregulate, so people can try things and make a few mistakes and do a few things that might not work out, but having that freedom really allows entrepreneurs to thrive. And so yeah, I'm real happy about that. And we will be going through Miami for Meet the Drapers, the TV show we've got that is it's like Shark Tank, only you meet the Drapers. And
Wow.
we interview entrepreneurs, but the viewer can invest through a crowdfunding platform. So that and so we've now had 4 seasons of 30 entrepreneurs each, and it's easier and easier to do the fundraise on Meet the Drapers, and now with the Jobs Act, we can raise $5 million for the entrepreneurs that apply to Meet the Drapers. So that's
Wow.
yet another great thing that we're going to be doing, and we will have a filming in Miami.
Wow, wow, wow. There so many announcements. So this is what you discussed with the mayor when you met with him, all of these initiatives?
No, I was discussing his philosophy. I wanted to hear from him, and I learned all about him. He's the son of of Cuban immigrants, and as a result, he understands how awful socialism is, how awful communism is, how awful government control is. Whenever the government starts to control you, you should resist it with every bit of fire in your blood. Um, if they force you to, do the goose step or wear a mask or whatever they're forcing you to do, fight it, fight it, fight it, because we are really it's amazing how a government can take a simple thing and suddenly take control over everybody's lives. I mean, the Chinese government, they're now telling parents how to raise their kids. They're saying no child in China can use video games for more than 2 hours or something, or
Yeah.
only these 2 hours during the day. What is that? You think President Xi knows better than Mr. Chang how to raise his family? No way. I think it's we just don't want government controls, and Miami, fortunately, the Miami mayor understands that. Mayor Suarez, he is terrific, and I hope he becomes president.
Wow. Yes. And yeah, we're talking a little bit about politics and are the politicians in the states are listening to somebody like you? Do you meet with the governors? Do you consult?
I do. In a lot of cases, I occasionally run into various politicians. I don't do it on purpose, but I also meet the presidents of various countries around the world. And I think what they're all starting to recognize is two different things. One is they're in competition for you, for the people and the businesses and the money and the entrepreneurs of the world. They're in competition for you. You could move from one place to another if you don't like what they're doing. So when they overregulate, you can move out, and you're seeing a great brain drain out of California right now. And you're seeing a huge brain drain out of China. Yeah. And because the government there is so overbearing. So first, governments need to compete with one another for us. And hopefully that'll mean that the service provided will keep improving. And the costs will go down the way they do in any competitive environment, any accountable environment. The second thing is the decentralization of the world. Bitcoin is allowing people to have a currency that is fungible, moves anywhere around the world. It's global, open, transparent. It can be moved across border. And so the geographic borders among us are less and less relevant. And I think governments are starting to recognize that too. And some of them are saying, that's great. We can open our borders. We'll have more free trade. Everything will be great. And some governments are saying, no, we got to tighten up our borders and make our people's lives more miserable. I always flash back to Korea, because freedom creates great wealth. Freedom creates happy people. Freedom creates a better world, and freedom drives progress. Because there was a line drawn between South and North Korea, the demilitarized zone. And the North Koreans had a Marxist philosophy. They were government control, government decides what people do. Nobody really acts without government permission. And the South Koreans were free market, open borders, free speech, democracy, capitalistic society. Okay, so that border really doesn't get crossed very often, and so it's sort of a perfect experiment.
Yeah.
Well, what's happened over that 70 years is that the South Koreans are now get 460 times as much income per capita per year as the North Koreans do. And that is even when you adjust for purchasing power. And the South Koreans now 70 years later are 4 inches taller than the average North Korean. And so the average South Korean is 4 inches taller than the average North Korean. And the North Koreans are miserable. Just, ask any of the North Koreans who have escaped. It is a miserable country. So we need freedom. Freedom drives everything, drives the world. And I think it needs to be a freer world. And I think the people, yes, the government officials I talk to, the presidents of various countries, either agree or disagree with me. And the ones who tend to agree are the ones from smaller, more independent countries who have been sort of overwhelmed by the bigger countries. And the bigger countries, well, China, of course, is the antithesis of this now. They used to be a free country. Now they are not free at all. The US is trying to do a balancing act because they realize that they're built on freedom and they're built on innovation. And if they overregulate, they will lose all that innovation. They'll have a brain drain out of the country. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, they've got people who are trying to regulate everything. And I think so. We're running through a bit of a balancing act in the U.S. Hopefully, they'll all come to their senses as they discuss things. The great thing about the U.S. is the free speech, and you can have a debate. And once it's all debated, I think the freedom will prevail. But we'll have to see. And there are certainly people in what they call power who want to stay in power, who are concerned about the idea of giving the power to the people. But we want the power back in the hands of the people, and we want the people to be able to operate as freely as they possibly can in a civilized.
Yeah. Do you remember like the years that you first, you pushed for Bitcoin, you had all the predictions, the media came to you.
I still do.
Crazy.
Because Bitcoin, I mean, this all leads up to Bitcoin represents freedom and trust in a global society. So this is like the perfect vehicle to take us there. And so, yes, of course, I'm still a huge proponent of Bitcoin and all the things it can do for the world, and will be doing and is doing for the world. It started when, it started back in 2004 when I, realized that digital money was going to be a big deal. But then I discovered Bitcoin in about 2011. And then what really turned me on was when I met with Sebastian Serrano at Ripio. And he was just getting his business going. And he said, okay, during the course of my life, my family has built a fortune and lost it to currency manipulation 3 times. And I'm only 30 years old. So every 10 years, there's some sort of currency manipulation by the politicians. And so nobody ever trusts the Argentinian peso. And so he said, Bitcoin is the savior of our country. And it got me thinking that, yes, you can use Bitcoin for any number of different transactions, any number of different operations. And if you build something of great value, you can store it in Bitcoin, and you know that it is not going to be manipulated by the political forces of the country. That is really powerful. And now with OpenNode, I can buy things at retail very easily and cheaply, and it actually saves money for the retailer. Once I can buy my food, my clothing, my shelter, all that stuff with Bitcoin, there will be no reason to ever hold a fiat currency again. Because why wouldn't I always want to hold the currency that is stable, you know, that one Bitcoin is worth one Bitcoin, against the currency that is volatile, that slowly is disappearing from use? People have asked me, well, you know, when are you going to sell your Bitcoin? And I say, into what? Why would I sell the currency of the future, or even the currency of the now, for the currency of the past? Why would I trade dollars for Confederate dollars? Why would I trade euros for drachma and French francs? Why would I ever want to do that, knowing that this new currency is going to be the currency that we're all using in a number of 2 to 5 years? I mean, there will be that moment in time where people say, well, wait, if I can buy everything in Bitcoin, why am I still holding dollars?
Unbelievable. And how was it when you pitched these ideas like so long ago? And I guess that you were one of the few I saw in the media pitching for that. What was their responses, you know, of people?
Well, I met with the president of Argentina twice. And the first time I met with him, this was Macri. The first time I met with him, I told him all about Bitcoin, and I said, this is really important. And he turned to his friend and he said, have we gotten too old? And then I came back to, and that Bitcoin was just hitting 10,000 when I was meeting with him. And then I came back 2 years later, and Bitcoin had fallen to 4,000. And I said, you know, when I met with you, I told you about Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's gone from 10,000 to $4,000 in value. And he laughed and he said, yeah. And I said, yeah, but during that same time, the Argentinian peso has gone from 75 cents down to 25 cents. And he goes, yeah. And I said, okay, so we'll make a bet that if the Argentinian peso outperforms Bitcoin over the next year, then you will make, then I will double my investment in Argentina. And then he said, oh, okay. And then I said, but if Bitcoin outperforms the Argentinian peso, you'll make Bitcoin a national currency, the way Japan and now El Salvador and other countries have. And he didn't shake on it. He should have done it, because he got thrown out of office, or not thrown out, he was not reelected. And now Argentina is in the hands of a socialist who is destroying the country. So I think yes, I have had very interesting discussions with a lot of these people, and they are open-minded, but listening to their people, I mean, as they should. And the people aren't all convinced yet, but they will be.
Unbelievable, unbelievable stories. This is what I was looking to hear, and I'm sure lots of people are watching us right now would love to hear. So leads me to the question, what's going to be in the future? Like, you're brave. You made so many predictions before. You're not afraid of talking real here. So what is your prediction for the future?
Okay, well, so I mean, in price, I predicted Bitcoin at 10,000 when 3 years before it hit 10,000. Then it dropped down to 4,000, and then I made this new prediction, which was by 2022, the end of 2022 or early 2023, Bitcoin will hit 250,000. And people were looking at me thinking I was completely nuts. And then it was up around 60, and people were going, oh my gosh, this could actually happen. And so I have it in my mind that more and more people are going to start using Bitcoin and other Bitcoin Cash and other cryptocurrencies for money, just for spending, for buying things. And as OpenNode becomes more and more prevalent with all the retailers, it's going to be cheaper to buy things in Bitcoin. And so I think that there will be this, it'll continue along, and then there'll be this huge acceleration in the use of Bitcoin. And I think that is about a year and a half away. I also think that over time, we're going to decentralize everything. And that means we're decentralizing banking and government and finance and you name it, insurance. Number of industries that are about to go through major transformations because of Bitcoin, the blockchain, and smart contracts that all come from that amazing base technology that Satoshi Nakamoto put together. So we're about to see a major transformation. And I think within 20 years, 10 or 20 years, we're going to see a world that is almost completely open bordered. And that, I think, is hard for people to imagine today. But I think down the road, you're going to start seeing people saying, well, you know, what's the difference between these two countries? They're all providing, and hopefully at that point, with governments competing for us or being accountable to us, the services are going to be the difference between Coke and Pepsi or an iPhone and a Samsung. Yeah, it's not going to be much. So people will be easily moving across borders, and we'll all be citizens of this world, and we'll have a much happier, healthier environment. And I hope we can get there without some crazy physical world war. I'm hoping we can get there just by, hey, this is where the future is going. Let's get there. Let's start extending olive branches across borders, and let's start building our free trade around the world, so everybody lives a better life. It becomes, you know, you get a wealthier world if everybody trades. If you and I were like, if you had a farm and I had a house and we didn't trade, then I would die of starvation and you'd die of exposure. But if we trade, then we're both okay. Well, the same thing happens multiplied by 8 billion people around the world, where all of us are interconnected. We're all helping each other in one way or another get better off. Anytime there's a deal made between two people, between two companies, between two countries, something good usually happens from those deals. So I think we are all better off by just kind of opening it up. You know, we're looking at a long term, we're going to see a very free world. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to drive toward it. I'm going to be funding decentralized companies. I'm going to be encouraging entrepreneurs to guide us toward a world that is open and transparent and global, and where the representation, people's representation, might end up being more liquid democracy than elected democracy. I think some really interesting things are coming, and I can't wait.
Amazing, amazing. Well, I'm following you. I met so many leaders at the Bitcoin conference, but I know how much you pushed for it. I know that you pushed for it in times that wasn't popular, to say the least. And among all the leaders at the conference, I really wanted to meet with you, and I'm happy that people are watching us are able to hear your vision and your action with all you do, with all these initiatives, amazing initiatives. How can people find out about your work, all the institutions? Maybe it's very hard to follow because you're doing so many things.
Well, you can follow me on Twitter, certainly. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to get your business funded, they can send a business plan to tim@draper.vc. I wrote a book. You can read my book. It's how to be a startup hero, something like that.
Hard to follow, as I said.
And then you can watch the Meet the Drapers. We now have 12 million viewers, and I think that that's a great show. And if you're an entrepreneur and you've got this fire in your belly and you really need to do something to make a change in the world, apply to Draper University. So there are lots of ways to connect, and I look forward to seeing how people do connect and how we can help them achieve their great visions.
Amazing, amazing. And this is what our summit is all about. We are calling it a matchathon, a matchmaking summit. So companies are now not only watching you, but actually connecting to do business and partnerships. So it's like a marathon of meetings to do business together.
Terrific. Yeah, well, we're always interested in meeting investors, and we're always interested in hearing from entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for having me on your show.
Thank you very, very much. And I hope to see you on the next BitCon conference as well in person.
Yeah, well, let's get back to in person. Life's a lot more fun in person.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.